I do love a tower defence game, particularly tower defence games that do something different, and Crushlink TD certainly does that. It's got an interesting theme, it has some interesting decision making that you have to do before you go into each level, and it's constantly got evolving levels that change and morph their paths that you have to adapt to on the fly so that you are able to survive the level. And so for a very simple and low price, Crushlink TD packs a punch, and I quite enjoyed it. In Crushlink TD, you're playing inside a dating app, essentially. You choose your gender of the person that you want to chat to, and then you swipe right, and then you start a conversation. And each level is you trying to deliver your message back to your crush. But the app is so full of spammy messages and all kinds of problematic glitches that you're having to kill the enemies, which are spam bots, so that you can then deliver your message at the end of the level. It's quite a cool setup, it's quite sweet, but it also gives you this cool cyber interactive neon Tron-esh aesthetic, which I really quite enjoyed. The game starts off with just a couple of towers and eventually unlocks 8 over the course of the game, but you can only take 4 into battle at any one time. But they complement each other, and it depends on your play strategy and what you've got coming down the paths as to what kind of towers you might want to take in, and it does reward switching things around and trying different ideas, because some towers will attack health, some will attack shields, and quite often they don't really pass over each other. Some attack flying enemies but not ground, and vice versa. Some will slow down enemies, some will buff up the other towers around you, and there's another one that generates money on the side, which can be very helpful. But again, costs a lot to kind of start up with, so you have to hold on by the skin of your teeth for a better reward later on. In normal TD sense, as you kill enemies you gain currency, which can then be spent on upgrading towers, and towers can be upgraded multiple times. But between battles you also earn an overarching currency too, which can be spent levelling up each individual tower's individual level. So, if you find that actually, because currency can be quite in short supply early on in this game, you might not want to spend your immediate currency buffing up like the level 2 and 3 of a tower, because you might only ever be able to afford laying down some level 1 versions of a tower. So you can spend money buffing that up and getting the best bang for your buck, and sometimes that's okay. And then you can kind of later on in the game recharge all of that money back and spend it again building up level 2, 3 and 4 later on, so that those towers can feel the beefiest that they can possibly be. But just bear in mind that because money is in short supply until very late in the game, where the levels are much more complex and sprawling, you're going to have to make some real decisions of, do I have a couple of really chonky towers and hope that I place them well and can fight back the tide, or do you go for lots of little and cover your options? And the reason why that's so important with this game is that every couple of waves in a level, the path totally changes, but it can also change back again. And so if you then start refunding towers and moving them around, you're losing currency quite often. And so you're trying to work out where's the best bang for your buck to place the tower on the various different pads that you can do so. And can you get like both or all 3 different paths to be covered by the same single tower? Is it better to try and like hoard it all right at the very end at the exit, because you know you're going to get more bang for your buck, but then it's a shorter period of time to kill everything, and sometimes you can get overwhelmed. It really is your decision. And what I found great with Crushlink TD for the vast majority of this game was that as you play through the game, the difficulty is at that level where quite a lot of the end bosses were being really, really tightly killed with like the second to last or last tower in my run through, and it was tight and nail biting. And yes, I might have survived with all of my health, but it was literally all being killed right at the very last minute all the time. And I felt like that was because I was making good decisions rather than the game being a cakewalk, if that made sense. Because a couple of times I would make poor decisions and set up towers in the wrong place, or refund the wrong towers back, or take in a not very optimised selection of towers, and I would be absolutely ransacked. And I'd be like, let's try this again. So it does reward multiple attempts and tryouts and a little bit of creativity, and I think that's not a bad thing. Alongside being able to upgrade your actual towers and spending the currency to do that, there's also a skill tree here that you can unlock extra abilities or upgrades for certain towers. But the interesting twist here is that it's almost like a decision tree, because you have to choose between upgrading one tower versus another, or one type of tower versus another, or one active or passive ability that you've unlocked versus another too. And so it starts to push you into certain loadouts, and yep, you can refund all of this back and try out different things, but again it just rewards that creativity in playing with what works for you and finding the best setup that works for you. I found that where I enjoyed Crushlink the most, and yeah, for its price point I got plenty of hours of entertainment out of it. There's some good Steam achievements to dive through and try out some like very specific challenges, and that's where I'm at with the game now. And yeah, if you're a fan of tower defence games, I definitely recommend this. We're in a bit of a boom purple patch for tower defence games at the moment, and I'd definitely add this one to the pile. So yeah, if you're interested in the genre, go grab this one. I think it's cheap, cheerful, but it does an awful lot with what it brings to the table. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.